So what's the narrative right now? It's that Donald Trump spews white supremacist rhetoric, and that has caused 2 young men to go on shooting sprees, wounding and killing dozens of people. So was it Donald Trump's fault that dozens got shot in Chicago this past weekend? Of course not, because that doesn't fit the narrative. And because it doesn't fit the narrative, they won't even really talk about it. So what is a narrative? A narrative is a fictional story created around half-truths to manipulate the political environment and hide the real truth. Right now we're seeing how ridiculous a narrative can be. Beto O'Rourke said that Trump is an avowed racist. Think about how ridiculous that is. If Trump is an avowed racist, that would mean that he has stated publicly that he's a racist. And of course he hasn't done that. Then you have the media outlets saying that anyone who supports Trump is supporting white supremacy. And don't forget, the example of his racism they were shouting about before these shootings occurred was the fact that Trump dared tell the truth about Baltimore. You see, what they're doing is further building on the lie that Trump and the Republicans are racist. It's what they've been doing this whole time to Trump. But it's what they've been doing to every Republican candidate or president since I've been alive. And they'll use any tragedy to push the narrative. They have no shame. Remember, these are people who support killing a baby on the day that baby is supposed to be born. So they have no problem dancing on anyone's grave for political gain. So how does the narrative work? The obvious thing it does is spread lies and false information. But it works in 2 ways. The first thing it does is it gives people a false choice. You're either with the good guys and support gun control, or you're with the evil racists. That's your 2 choices in the current narrative. And they build a narrative around every issue. You either support Medicare for all, or you want people to die. You're either against a border wall, or you're anti-immigrant. You either support killing a baby in the womb, or you hate women. The second thing the narrative does is it allows the people who are pushing it to dismiss any other argument. You can't say that you support Trump because you like his policies or judicial nominations. They're not going to entertain that conversation because the narrative says that if you support Trump, then you support white supremacy. The narrative doesn't allow for any other option. That's why the media never actually talked about Baltimore and their problems. Their narrative wouldn't allow it. Now, it looks like the shooter in El Paso was a racist, but he was also worried about the environment, overpopulation, big corporations, and saving the trees. But you won't hear any of that from the people pushing the narrative, because like all the people who were shot in Chicago this past weekend, it doesn't fit the narrative. When Sandy Hook happened, the narrative was that Republicans didn't want to pass stricter gun laws because they don't care about the children. So your choice was that you either care about children and want to pass stricter gun laws, or you don't care if children are murdered. And when Gabby Giffords was shot in Arizona, the narrative was that it was Sarah Palin's fault. So you better not vote for John McCain. You see, they create the narrative for what they think will best help them politically at that moment. The power of the narrative is real. I was having a conversation with a colleague at work, and he said Trump says racist things. So I asked if he could tell me what the most racist thing Trump has ever said. His answer was that Trump called Mexicans rapists. Then I asked him, do you think that some of the people coming across the border illegally are rapists and murderers? To that he answered yes, but not all Mexicans are rapists. Then I said, well, you and Donald Trump agree on this issue. That's all he was saying, that there are some bad people who come across the border illegally. My colleague has sadly been influenced by the narrative. He's the type of guy that puts in a hard day's work, then goes home, has a couple of beers, and relaxes until it's time to wake up and do it all over again. He's not into politics, but he votes. He's an honest, hardworking guy that doesn't really pay attention to politics, which is exactly who the narratives are created for. And that's why I'm starting a new series called The Narrative versus the Truth. I'm going to break down different narratives politicians have built around issues and expose the deception and explain what the truth is. After showing my friend the full quote of what Trump said about illegal immigrants, he no longer thinks it's a racist statement. It's people like him who need to hear the truth. And if you guys want to help spread the word with us, comment on our videos. When a video gets a lot of comments, YouTube algorithms have a better chance of suggesting that video for other people to watch. So if you don't have much to say, just comment a thumbs up or a good job and help us spread the truth. Because I believe it's imperative that we take on the narrative, for the narrative hides the truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.